Willie the Beast. This dude, 7 out of his 10 at-bats, he had hard hit balls. And I believe that he was 7 for 10, if I'm not mistaken. And just crushing the ball around the yard. It's great to see. It's like he's got a hair under his ass about not having a contract extension or something, it feels like.
I love that he's been so mentally strong throughout all of this. It is so easy as a player with the contract situation, with them trading, all the guys that you came up with, to have a sluggish season, to not come out ready to play. And especially him, who
we saw it last year from those main guys.
Yeah, especially him too, who realistically, man, if you look at Willie, to me, he's always been that igniter. He's the guy who, feeds off of people, but also can bring his own energy. I always thought, too, that, when he had guys like Javi in the lineup and Chris Bryant and Rizzo who, were laying it on the line every day, it only made Willie better because he was able to be that fire and to just bring his full game and full excitement into the ball game. That can be really difficult to do when you're on a middling team and it's a bunch of guys that you've never played with before. So I think he's been mentally strong as well as equally strong with the at-bat and defensively too. You just start to wonder what the future is for him in a Cub uniform. And I hope I'm pro extend Willie. After what they did last offseason, there seems to be no sense of loyalty, and it wouldn't surprise them if they get an offer that they feel is warranted, and it brings them back maybe a third base prospect, or maybe Rivas hits for a while and then struggles, and they still need to fix that first baseman side of things. You just start to wonder if the Cubs are just going to start to look to get younger at that point and then build out even further. Maybe you're getting back a low A prospect that's very young but projectable back for Willson Contreras in addition to some parts that are probably closer to the MLB level. That way you can bring up this new wave, still stock for the future, and still, kind of surround some guys around the new core that's going to come up. I just wonder, what the level of negotiation was prior to this all being, because it just doesn't seem like either side has let on that there have been good negotiations, that they're even close, and that I'm starting to wonder if they've even offered a full contract. That's the question. And if they haven't done that, I think the writing's almost on the wall that they're going to field offers for him at the trade deadline if they're not in it. And if they get something they like, don't be surprised if they pull the trigger. But he's been nothing short of spectacular to start this year. And he'd be the best hitter probably on the market for trade. Let's be honest here. It's hard to find hitting catchers and guys who do it at the level that Willson Contreras does. For a contender that is maybe a piece away, you could ask for a pretty penny for Willson Contreras. And if he doesn't project in your future, this is a Jed Hoyer, question, and you need to figure it out. If he doesn't, then you got to get something for him, because that's, to let him walk is just, to me, it's not responsible as a GM.
Yeah, no, and Jed's not going to let that happen. He's not going to let. I don't think. If anything, if last season was any indication, he's not going to walk away with nothing. He's either going to trade him or he's going to be making sure 100% that he can either extend him after the season and it's within the range of whatever the dollar amount that they think is right between the years that they think is right between him and Carter Hawkins and Ricketts. Let's just say it. Whatever they think the dollar range in the years are within their grasp, he's going to make sure that he can get this deal done either after the season or before. I truly believe that, just based on what he did last season. Because like you said, Juice, he hasn't shown loyalty to these guys. Yes, made offers, competitive offers that held up well in the market. That is true. And I heard somebody recently, pretty big journalist, reporter, Cubs beat, whatever you want to call him, recently said he still doesn't understand. He said this on the Chicago airwaves too, so I'm just going to say that. He recently said, I'm not sure how the Cubs didn't get a deal done with Javier Baez. I'm still puzzled by that. And he said $140 million. Well, listen, the Cubs offered more than that. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that I wrote that in my article when he signed with Detroit, that the Cubs offered, I believe it was by Buster Olney, he reported $180 million, I believe. And I could be off on that just a little bit at this point. But if my memory serves me correct, it was like a $180 million range. So that one held up. So how are you not? I mean, so Baez said no. So what does that tell you? Does that tell you that he just didn't want to be here playing for this organization under who was running show here? What does that say about Willson Contreras? Like, him and Willson Contreras are probably pretty close, right? Like, same goes for Willie and Rizzo and, Chris Bryant. I mean, like, so that tells you, like, there could be some real conflict here between the negotiations. And if that's the case, really makes you question, like, is he getting dealt off, and was Yan Gomes more than just, I'm going to spell him to give him some rest, give him his legs some rest, and try to help boost the offense a little bit? Was he like the guy that would replace him basically when he's traded at the deadline? And look, for the returns that Jed Hoyer and the Cubs got for all those deals, I kind of trust Jed. Like, whatever decision he wants to make, and I know this is going to sound bad, right? Because, we talked about it pre-show, and you mentioned that it's a possibility that he could be brought back even after traded, as a free agent in the offseason. That is true. I trust Jed at this point because I feel like he's done nothing to, like, dis-earn or, unearn my trust at this point because of the returns he's gotten. Look at Pete Crow Armstrong, man. He is killing it in the minor leagues right now. Return for Javier Baez. Look at Caleb Killian and Alexander Canario. Killing it. Chris Bryant trade. I mean, he's doing pretty well with these returns. Nick Madrigal got hurt. Fine. That was involved in the Craig Kimbrell deal. We still don't know exactly what he's going to be, if like a high ceiling guy or whatever. But I guess my bigger point here is, like, no matter what happens with Willson Contreras, I want him extended. I'll be the first to say that I want him extended because, you said it right on the button. This team is lacking familiarity with players that the fans can really attach with, basically. And Contreras is a guy, he is the Lone Ranger now. And catchers, like, we've seen them kind of stay over from some of these, like, old competitive teams. Yadier Molina. We spent the beginning of this show ragging on Yadier Molina, Yadi, and Al Pujols. Yadi stuck around in St. Louis. He carried over, and they kind of retooled that team, and look where they're at now. And they're competing and playing well with Yadi Molina being old as fuck and not being able to run around the bases. Like, he's got a burger stuck on the side of his belly while he's running around the bases. Like, so it can be done. It definitely can be done.